PCBWay is one of the leading PCB manufacturers out there, and it is the manufacturer I use for my products. Now, if you're either a hobbyist and or looking to create a final product, PCBWay is going to be a really great choice with their 24-hour and also assembly services. So go ahead and check the links down below. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the jumper TX18S, and we will also be tearing this down because I do have a couple issues on the inside, and that's how I received it, and you might run into the same thing. So first of all, the TX18S is supposed to be their light spec or their budget line spec here, and they're saying that this is a touchscreen. It could be a touchscreen, but it doesn't work as a touchscreen, so that's something you need to take into consideration so you don't kind of think it does have a touchscreen because it doesn't work. But the overall screen on here, we're going to start from the outside and move our way inside, is exactly identical to the Horus X10, which is like a $500 radio from Hakcrc right here. So it is really identical, but this feels more practical, and we'll get into why in a little bit here. Now let's talk about the switches and then move our way to the peripherals before we do the teardown. I'll show you my issues. So we have a total of 8 switches. These types of switches, 6 of them, which are this one, are 3 positions. This is a 2 position, and this is a momentary switch right here. And these are just knobs, potentiometer knobs, and they just have a dent right in the middle, so you could feel when you hit the middle right there. So that's kind of nice. And also we have 2 little sliders right here if you're going to be using it for a wing or anything of that nature. And then we have our menu control buttons and sliders and whatnots here, and our power buttons and Hall effect gimbals. And that's really about it for the controls. Now, if we move up here, this is really interesting. There's a couple things you need to take into consideration. It doesn't have internal antennas. This is the main antenna, so please do not forget to put your antenna on before you boot this, or you have a high probability of losing a lot of range, because what's basically inside is a multi-protocol module. And I have a bunch of protocol modules where I forgot to put the antenna. I've actually lost quite a lot of range. I could barely fly for 20 meters. So I don't think they've incorporated some sort of a safety feature that if you don't have your antenna to basically not power on the module. So yeah, keep that in consideration. Keep that in mind. This is very dangerous and it could really screw everything up. That's why you find most of the Hakcrc, you can't remove the antenna, so that doesn't really happen to you. So yeah, that's something very important. Here we have an audio jack and we have USB Type-C. Now, it's really nice that they've gone the USB Type-C route, but what's even better than that, one is you can immediately just connect it to your PC and start playing your simulators, which we're going to be testing it on a little bit, but it can also charge your battery. So for battery, they don't provide you with a battery, but they give you an 18650 battery holder here. You put it in, you stick it in the back, and now you're able just to charge it from here. It took a while for Hakcrc to do that. And you could just plug it in right there with the battery. And you also do have SD card expansion right there. They do provide you with the SD card and all the files inside of it. So that's really nice. Now, talking about the battery, when you plug this guy in, it's going to stay very loose. And in the packaging, they give you this little foam thingy. Now, I didn't know if it was for it or not, but that's how it made sense to me. So this little foam piece, I just stuck it right here. So it kind of keeps the battery at bay and it doesn't keep, it just felt really cheap. At times. And oh, sorry about that, you might have seen that I've removed these is because we're doing the teardown. I'll show you how these just remove really easily and they're very nice. We're going to cover that later on. So now let me show you the first issue I have. So we're going to power this guy on.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Okay.
Switch warning.
All right. Now listen to the transmitter when I make it vibrate. Okay, so I'm going to click this. It's going to allow it to vibrate. I'm going to do this way first. Listen to this.
Switch warning.
You hear that?
Switch warning. Switch warning.
And this way, it's not making that noise.
Switch warning. Switch warning. Switch warning.
There's something clearly loose inside, and it's actually not something loose. It's the vibrating motor itself and the way that this case has been designed. There are a couple workarounds which we're going to take a look at right now, and also some other things you might want to know about in the back. So let's go ahead and pop this guy right open. And I just screwed up and I had this booted up without even an antenna. But I don't think the module boots up until you get out of that home screen. So I think I was good to go. Anyways, we'll figure that out in the field. Okay, so now we're looking at the back. It's basically 4 screws here and then the 2 up top, and you're basically open. You don't even have to pop anything, just comes right off. After you remove the rubber pieces also. They remove easily and they're put back easily. So right in the middle here, what we're greeted with is this is the multi-protocol module. This is what you'll find in most of those modules that you can buy online. This is the exact same chipset right here, and they just stuck it in and kind of made it as the internals. Now, if we look down to the antenna side, we see that it's glued into place, which is also really nice. And it's not diversity, it's just that single antenna right here. So that's all you have. You just have one antenna here that's supposed to work on all of the protocols. Now, what's really nice with this is you could bind to FrSky, FlySky, and even the Chinese toys that are currently in the market. So that's something really nice to have here. But range is going to be a big priority, or penetration at 2.4 gigahertz, which we'll be testing when the weather gets better here. Now, another thing to take into consideration is usually FrSky ends up using silicone wires for most of this stuff inside. Not that it matters, but it is a nice touch. Here, they're just using basic all stiff wires. Over a long time, they'll get really stiff actually. So that's what they're using for the wires here, if that really matters to you. For the screen, as you can tell, the ribbon cable is just kind of jacked up right here. I really don't like how this was set up right here. We do have our SD card expansion. They do provide you with the SD card inside. Now, here's our vibrating motor right here. And this is one of the issues I currently have, and you might run into as well. So if we zoom in here, what we see is that we have the body of the motor and the top of the motor. So this thing spins in order to make it vibrate. Let me actually show you that. So first of all, I'm putting on my antenna so I don't forget again. And now I am plugging in the battery. Okay. And you can watch, I'm going to go ahead and power on this and you'll see that spin. Hopefully.
Welcome to OpenTX. Throttle warning.
So you hear that looseness inside. It's this little motor right here. And the problem with the motor is we have the body and we have the top, and there's a piece of plastic right between the body and the top right there that's holding the motor into place. And what happens is the motor is actually loose. It has some play. So they didn't use the most expensive motors, obviously. And that play, depending on how you're holding it, will hit that plastic and create that noise. And it can be pretty annoying at times. And it makes it feel really, really cheap. There are workarounds. Maybe sanding off some of that plastic pieces could probably fix that. And I might try that later on. So another thing that I've also realized is this little part right here, which is kind of the selector, the joystick, or whatever you might want to call it here. And it is somewhat pretty loose, and I'm going to try to show you that as best as possible on camera. You can see that just playing back and forth. Might not be a big deal for a lot of people, but that is actually quite a lot of play right here. So what it's doing is, because when you push down on it, it clicks. And there's like just so much space, just empty space that allow it to play back and jiggle and wobble. And it's just, again, it just adds to the cheapness feeling of it. So that's, again, something to take into consideration as well, which I really don't like. Now, back to the multi-protocol module here. I don't know how well this is going to perform. I think there's no reason to think that it's going to perform any better or any differently than the normal ones you buy, which usually have pretty decent range. But yeah, it really depends, and we have to go test it out and check it out. Now, again, what's really nice is they have the shielding. Not all multi-protocol modules ship with the shielding, so that's a little nice bonus to have there. And if we look here, we have our pins for our modules. So this is kind of like meant to hold a TBS Crossfire or some sort of other module that'll give you even more range than what you could probably get out of this thing right here. But overall, as of right now, it seems nice. I do like the Hall effect gimbals, and I did use it inside liftoff in the simulators, and I played with it indoors here. Haven't had any issues, no fail-safes, but it's still too early to say anything about this. I am kind of impressed. I think this thing is selling for 80 bucks or something. If it is, that's pretty insane actually. And don't forget, this thing can bind to quite a lot of stuff, like the Chinese toys, the Eachine toys, FlySky, FrSky, Spectrum, I think also. And yeah, it can do quite a lot, but you know, I'm just really worried more about the range than anything, especially with new people purchasing this, because the problem with new people purchasing this is they are more than likely to really forget about placing in their antenna before they fly. And if they do that, that could really damage the range. And not only that, damage Jumper's Jumper's reputation as well. And that's why we see most of the FrSky comes with the antenna just basically built in solid, so you don't have that issue happen. And it's really nice to see that they've glued it inside. So sometimes if you might have dropped it and the antenna, the IPEX port came out, you would never know your antenna's not plugged. You would not only ruin it, you also just will keep fail-safing and saying, oh, this company's crap, this company's crap. So now we're putting back the little rubbers here, and it's a very pleasant process, actually. They go back on really nicely. I really don't have to fight them or anything. It just pops right into place, and it looks like just the way I got it. And that's something I really like, actually. Not that I'll be ever doing that again, but it's nice to know that I can do that and get away with it if I needed to wash it or maybe paint it or do something with it. I just left the screws out for now. So let's go ahead and plug in the battery. And again, the charging feature from the USB Type-C is just really awesome. All right, so now we have the transmitter put back together. Kind of all the way, not really all the way, but yeah, put back all the way. So first of all, the ergonomics is really nice, especially with this little part that's sticking out, and it really does allow you to grip it very nicely. Also, the amount of throw on the gimbals feels slightly less than something that has a full-fledged gimbal, or maybe I don't know, it just feels so much different. I mean, here I could feel like a lot of throw, and then here it just feels a little bit less. So I think it does have slightly less than a full-fledged gimbal here. Also, it does feel less than my X9 Lite as well. But again, they're very smooth and pretty nice as well, as you can tell right there. Now let's talk about the features. So here we have USB Type-C. Now this will allow you to play on simulators and also charge the 18650s that are back here. But you can't do two at the same time. You're either playing or you're either charging. So when it's off, it's charging. When you're playing, I'm guessing it's not charging because I didn't see my battery voltage go up. So yeah, that's something to take into consideration here. And it takes a maximum of 2S, so you can even put lipos in the back if you have, and maybe even come up with like some kind of a setup where you can put a big ass 2S lipo back here and stick it somewhere and then put that wire inside. You're good to go. Also, you get more flight time as well. Now, the overall menu and the ease of use is, I don't know, that these buttons over here really confuse me quite a lot. So let's go ahead and do this together. All right. So you still have the same exact stuff like you would have on any other FrSky transmitter. You have your return over here, which I find very annoying. I would have loved the return button here. It just makes more sense. So for example, if I go inside somewhere, let's go ahead here, and I wanted to go back. I mean, it makes sense to press here, but you're going to have to let go of this, go here, and press back. It does get annoying. For example, I'm going to go set an auxiliary channel for this real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to go model, and then we're going to go page, go to the mixer. We're going to go down. Now, the looseness here, over time, it might get even worse and allow you to input stuff by accident. But yeah, let's just, here we go. We're going to hold this. We're just going to delete this one real quick. Okay, it's very responsive, actually. It's more responsive than the Horus X10, to be honest, which I find really insane. That one just feels very sluggish, and even the voice sometimes jitters. Here, we don't see any of that. So now, I'm going to set a switch, for example. I'm going to set this one right here. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to set it. Now, common sense will tell you to come back here and press this, but no, you're completely wrong. You have to go here, go here, and go here. Something you get used to. But I wish they would have flipped these. It would have been much, much, much better. And because you really don't use this one right here unless you go into the system, which you could hold it and then you can start setting that up. And again, it would be, see, I'm still screwing up here. You have to press the return over here. I really wish they switched these over. They could probably do it in an update. Let's go ahead and try these out. I'm very curious. What are these? Are these each switches, or is it just one channel? So let's go back to the mixer and test those guys out. So here we're going to go to channel 9. And I'm going to go right here. Okay, so now it took it into... Oh, wow. So it's reading it as a potentiometer. And you have negative 100, 60, 20. Then you have positive 20. Then 60, and then 1. So this is one channel right here, which you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inputs. That's pretty awesome, actually. That is really awesome. I really like that. So obviously it takes it as a potentiometer input. Here's the S2 for potentiometer 1, 2, and here's the sliders. Everything's working. That's good. That's really good to see. That's actually pretty. Actually, I think I could use this thing here. But what's really crazy is it won't register until you press 4 into the mixer. So for example, I'm going to switch it to this switch, and if I were to press 2, oh, it actually registered this time. I don't know why. Maybe I was just clicking the same one. So that's a nice feature, actually. I actually kind of like that, to be honest. I think I would use this if I would put a Crossfire or maybe the new Immersion RC Go stuff in here. And also the internals is just fine, but I'm really hesitant to see the range. I'm very much afraid of the range, especially in the Bando, because every little, antenna placement counts for me at times. Even when I'm just within 50 meters or so, it could be pretty detrimental of the range. For example, recently I've actually switched to the Horus X10. And now this one here, hopefully, should have decent range. But again, I can't answer that until I actually go and take it out. So that's up to you to decide. And if you have used it, let us know down in the comment section. Overall, it does feel cheap, but it has everything. And it's really hard to say anything. Now, the overall longevity, I can't answer that. I will be using it, though, that's for sure. So now I'm guessing we could just call it part 1 of the review. I am slightly impressed with the amount of things you can do with this, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be using all of them. Also the price. But now it's all about, for me currently, it's all about the range, reliability, and we'll see how it goes from there. Because I've dropped my Horus plenty of times and it survived like a beast. I've broken a couple of these potentiometer knobs, but that'll happen on any transmitter. So here I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with this. All right, guys, and all the links are down below if you can check those out. Those greatly support the channel. And I also do have a special coupon that works on all RC related products on Banggood if you want to go ahead and use that. And well, that's it, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.